Welcome everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of this cold January day. And if I have not seen you in person, Happy New Year. Before I start, I wanted to acknowledge the Chamber because they provide opportunities like this for small business owners like myself to serve the greater community. Also, I want to be a testimonial for being part of the chamber. It's about, I think, about a year now. I joined the chamber, and it's been one of the best investments I've made. It's connected me with a lot of you local business owners in person. So I want to thank Christian and Emery for this opportunity. Um, as we start this presentation, I would just simply ask if you can put yourself on mute, please. Thank you. All right, so we're going to jump in. I have a PowerPoint presentation for us today. I guess it all wants to take us back to Vegas. All righty then. So Christian, can you see me, hear me? Your face is the one that I'm seeing here. Okay, so today, let me just make this to the side. Okay, so today we are here to be talking about how we're going to grow our business without burning out, reclaim our health, build resilience, and achieve more in less time. So I know as being part of the chamber, there are different types of leaders within our organization. There are leaders in the corporate spaces, and then there are small and medium-sized business owners. So the content is going to be very macro level. And I just wanted to let you know that I am a licensed psychotherapist, so this is not considered clinical directives. My lawyer tells me to tell you that this presentation is just for educational purposes only. So today, while we all hoped and wish that we were on this beach somewhere, I hope that mentally I can help you gain mental clarity to hopefully have this image in your head. So welcome to the burnout free zone. So if you can, let me get ready to see the chat. If you can you drop in the chat if you've ever been to Las Vegas? You can put a 1 in the chat if you've ever been to Las Vegas. Okay, we have like 4 ones. Christian put a 2. All right, so most of us have been to Vegas, at least in the room. So what do you know the famous saying about Vegas? It's what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So because this topic may bring up some things for certain individuals, I want us to create a safe space here. So whatever happens in this room stays in this room. And I hope that you honor and respect each other while we're doing this presentation. Okay. So what are the learning objectives for today's session? By the end of this workshop, you'll be able to understand what burnout is and recognize its signs. You'll be able to learn how burnout affects your health, your work performance, and your business. You'll see the real cost of burnout through some personal examples because I will be sharing with you my burnout journey and how it really took a toll on both my personal and professional lives. You will understand and identify the main causes of burnout in your work and life. You will also discover how work-life integration can drive your business growth. And also you'll be leaving with a personalized framework. And as a bonus, if you stay till the end of this presentation, all the tools that I'll be talking about today in creating using the SAFE framework, you will also have the opportunity to download and create your own personalized plan. So why are we talking about burnout? I feels like every time I go out and I tell someone I'm a burnout coach, they're like, oh my gosh, I was either burnt out or I know someone. So like almost 1 in 2 people tell me that they have experienced burnout in some capacity. What I found through my research, and there's a lot of data to support it, is that burnout is a global epidemic. What we found, according to the Gallup World Workplace Report, it states that $8.9 trillion is lost in in global GDP due to low engagement. They found that 62% of employees are not engaged, and one contributing factor is burnout. What they found is that this is equating to 9% of the global GDP, which you know is a trillions of dollars. So this is why burnout is so important. Another factor that burnout has an impact on is in the workplace. So on a larger global scale, it has an impact in trillions of dollars. And in a recent poll by Inc. magazine that interviewed the top 5,000 CEOs, when they interviewed them in September last year, when the report came out, they found that 49% of those top 5,000 CEOs said that burnout is their number one workplace challenge. So as you can see, it's a very important issue. So my question to you is today is what is burnout costing you? Another report came out of Harvard Business Review found that the cost contributing to the healthcare system in the United States is up to $190 billion on a yearly, because burnout is contributing to a lot of the psychiatric and physical ailments facing US employees. So I have done a lot of research in obviously being a burnout coach and learning about burnout and experiencing burnout myself. So according to the World Health Organization, burnout is mostly contributed to occupational in an occupational context, right? But what I found in doing my research is like while we get burnt out due to work demands, also parents are burnt out by not working and just caring for their kids. We also found that caregivers who are caring for their elderly parents or loved ones are also getting burnt out. So while I agree that some of the factors from the World Health Organization, I like to use this definition according to Health Guide. So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to keep up with constant demands. As the stress continue, you begin to lose interest and motivation that led you to take on the certain role in the first place. So I like this because it's really simple. One thing to note about burnout has not been, you cannot be diagnosed for it on a medical level. So it's just something that you have to work with a burnout professional or go to the doctors, rule out that there are not underlying medical issues for the symptoms that you are exhibiting, and then exploring maybe with a behavioral health professional as well. So this is my story. So my husband, my dad and my mom met in high school. They fell in love, they got married, they had me, and unfortunately, 3 months after I was born, my dad passed away unexpectedly. As I grew up, I unconsciously developed a belief that life was really short because my dad passed away at the young age of 23 years old. So this caused me to believe that life was so short, and I had to do things at an accelerated rate. I became a high performer. An example of this is by the age of 24, I had 2 master's degrees. I was climbing the corporate ladder, and within the next 20 years, I had moved up the corporate ladder and gotten tons of promotions and all of the quote unquote high performance, high achieving accolades. But unfortunately, that did not serve me because I was not attending to my medical and wellness. So eventually, in the height of the pandemic, I lost my dad's only brother. I contracted COVID. I was like many of you dealing with work-life balance when it comes to working from home and how the global pandemic had impacted our lives. And eventually, I was working a 9 to 5. I was starting my business. There was a lot of things. Life was lifing, as we would say. And then eventually my body gave out. I started having insomnia. I was having these tingling sensation. What I eventually found out was anxiety jolts. I had no desire to eat. I was not a pleasant person to be around, even though it's really hard to accept the fact that I'm saying that now. I wasn't a pleasant person to be around. And all areas of my life suffered. Eventually, I went to the doctor saying, "Hey, what's going on? I'm having all of these symptoms." They're like, "Hey, there's nothing wrong with you medically." And then I went to several medical providers, and they cleared me medically, but it was the cardiologist who took the time to sit down with me and said, "Hey, I think it's your relationship to stress that's causing these symptoms. And I really think that you need to really find ways to manage your stress," right? So eventually I had spent I had to take a 6 month leave from work. I eventually got better through different modalities of work of healing, a very holistic approach I created, and then I eventually was able to find myself, and I was able to spend time with my beautiful family and uh, run my business. So the point of me sharing that story with you is that it's really important. Like, we're all a brilliant professionals. I believe that everyone I work with, everyone who I speak with, we're all brilliant in our unique way, and we know the impact we're here to make on this earth. We know the things that we quote unquote need to do. So I know what I needed to do, right? So as a mental health therapist for 20 years, I know that I needed to have work-life balance, or stop working at a specific time. I know that I needed to eat nutritious foods. I know that I needed to move my body and exercise. I know that I need to journal or meditate or pray, or whatever that looks like for you. I know I need to hydrate and spend time with my family. I know all of these things cognitively. However, there was a gap. What I actually did was these things, which are, me and the Amazon driver became besties because I was just on Amazon buying things that I didn't need to buy, but I just felt good when I was able to open something new and I got that dopamine rush, right? I was doing the whole mani pedi spa thing, and while it was great and relaxed for a moment, the next morning when I woke up, those thoughts were still in the background and I still felt overwhelmed. I was just like many other people doing the binge watching on all of the Netflix shows, traveling, downloading all the apps, because as we know, every day a new app comes on, and it really tells you like it's going to solve your biggest issues. And I downloaded all the apps. However, the feelings, the internal narrative wasn't changing, and the stress remained the same. I am all for shopping, mani pedis, binge watching, traveling, doing all of the things, but at the end of the day, if we don't get to the root cause of why we're stressed, that is where the problem lies. So I went on this quest to find out why this brilliant professionals, we know what we need to do. However, we're not doing it to take care of ourselves, and we're burning out. So before I jump into how to solve burnout, I want to talk about just a very high level view of the way that burnout is showing up for us beyond the money. I know that I talk about a lot of the financial impacts at the beginning with all of those stats. However, this is just a macro view of how these symptoms may be showing up. And if you are experiencing any of these things, highly recommend first thing to go to a medical provider to rule out any medical conditions that may be causing these symptoms. So the way that burnout shows up is physically, you're tired, you're drained, you're exhausted, you have headaches, specifically tension headaches, you have difficulty sleeping, because the body is so stressed out. You've ignited the fight or flight response, which normally lowers your immunity, and causes a high probability of you getting sick. You get more sick more frequently because you have lower immunity. You have muscle pains, because the body feels like you're being physically attacked by something, and you're igniting a lot of muscles, that will cause a lot of muscle pain. Change in appetite. Mentally, you're more frustrated, irritable, lack of motivation, inability to concentrate. You constantly feeling like no matter how hard you work, you feel defeated. You become detached from everything because you're so tired. And then eventually, because all you're craving is sleep and you just want all the stress to go away, you have a negative outlook on life, which decreases your satisfaction and your quality of the way you look at different areas of your life. Overall, because you're tired and you don't want to be bothered, you often avoid gatherings if you don't have to be there. You don't want to talk on the phone with your loved ones. So you decrease communication. You start to do like bare minimum just to get by. So you withdraw from your responsibilities. Another thing is that because you're so exhausted, you're taking longer time to complete assignments that you previously had. You're also, all you want to do is sleep because you're so tired. You're skipping work, you're leaving work early. And because you want to make it all go away, you find alternative ways of coping, which is like using food, alcohol, or alternative ways. At this point, does anyone have any questions about any of the things that I have covered so far?
Thank you, Tina. Really quickly, I just missed what did you say that the muscle pain was attributed to with the physical part?
Well, there are different reasons you could have muscle pain, but I know that when we ignite the fight or flight system, we're allowing the muscles to do much more work, like we're supposed to be fleeing from a what we perceive. So we have psychological fears, but it's perceiving it as physical fear. So then we want to flight, and the body's like ready to go.
Understood. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Thank you for your question. So let's move along. Okay. So I'm here to today to tell you the things that you're like, there's no way stress can be a good thing. So I am here to tell you that stress is a good thing. And the reason that stress is a good thing is that when you feel stressed, angry, frustrated, or anxious, or any other quote unquote undesirable feeling, it is your body signaling to you, just like the check engine light on your car, that there is something that you need to tend to. These emotions point to the root cause of what's bothering you. And at that point, just like when you see the check engine light on your car, it's up to you to tend to it, right? Like you could have the check engine light on, but if you do not address it, and if you repress the emotions, it will continue to repeat. You ever wonder why you keep getting upset at the same issue over and over and over? It's because it's not addressed. So taking a moment to check in with yourself and understand the core root cause of why you keep getting angry, frustrated, or anxious when this precipitating factor or trigger occur, it would help you lessen the stress in your life. I know that's easier said than done, but that is something that I work on with my clients, and it is something that you can simply do on your own as well. If something keeps occurring and you keep getting upset, it's simply like, hey, I like, because when you say your name, your brain brings attention to it. So say if I'm stressed out about something or I feel frustrated, I'm like, I go sit with myself somewhere and it's like, hey, Tina, what's going on? And it's like, I have an internal conversation with myself. Like, why did you get upset in that situation? Well, what caused you to feel upset? And really understanding why you're getting upset or angry or whatever. So what is my check engine light trying to tell me? Okay. So, why are we burnt out? The reason that we are burnt out is that the brain's main job is to keep us safe. So it's always looking out for danger. It's like the smoke alarm, right? You have a smoke alarm in your house. Every time it sees smoke, it's like notifying you. It's the same thing. Your job, the brain's job is to keep you safe and making sure that there isn't any physical threats coming your way. So what it does, it reacts very quickly at anything that it perceives as a threat, even if it's stress from work or school, right? So it constantly, like at any given moment, right now, as you're listening to me, your five senses around you is ensuring that you're safe. So your brain is like scanning the environment. You're like, if something feels weird and starts crawling on your skin, it's going to make you aware of it. So little things through your five senses, your brain is trying to keep you safe and making sure that you stay from harm. So this constant the constant alertness can make you feel tired and stressed if you're constantly stressed out all the time. So the key thing here is to stabilize your body and brain. And this is where I develop the SAFE framework. So the SAFE framework is for business leaders who high-performing business leaders, and the goal is to help them reduce burnout, achieve work-life integration while accelerating their professional growth. And in the next few slides, I'll be explaining to you in much deeper details how we stabilize the body, we align our vision, we fulfill the plan, and take empowered action to move forward. So the first, let me just minimize this for a second. So the first success pillar is to stabilize. Because of the time today, I am taking a very macro level view of what these different pillars are. So a lot of the work that I'm sharing today is based on neuroscience and cognitive neuroscience and psychology. So there's a body of work called Maslow hierarchy of needs, and most of you have heard about it, or a lot of individuals within the personal development space know about this. So what it is that we as business owners or business leaders, we desire to make and grow our business. So some people, they may want to have a $30 million business. However, what Maslow hierarchy of needs share is that in order for us to have a good quality of life as we build to that $30 million is that we need to take care of our basic needs, right? So the things that we need to do, which we all know as brilliant adults, is that we need to eat nutritious foods, all the things that I shared that I knew I needed to do, to make sure that we're laying the foundation as we go towards the $30 million. I mean, for some of us, we just need $1 million. Some people desire 30 million, right? So what I'm saying is that we have to meet those basic needs before we go to the next level. That's why in Maslow hierarchy of needs, he's saying that we need to meet these basic needs before we can build on. It's like building a house, and we're building this house for our business and our well-being in like quicksand. We're just trying to get to the top and implement these strategies, but we're not taking care of the basic needs. So I just Googled in 2025, and I said, what is the most expensive car? So according to Google, because this car right here is a Rolls Royce La Rose, no, I can't even pronounce this thing. Or drop tail. So this car, according to Google, it's $30 million. This beautiful piece of machinery is $30 million. So just like some of us may desire to have this car, we desire to have a $30 million business, or would love to have $30 million in our bank account. However, this car still needs gas to get from point A to point B. And just as this car needs something basic as gas to get it from point A to point B, is the same concept of why we need to have our basic needs met to get us to more financial abundance in our life. Hopefully this is resonating with some of you. So this is what I'm going to walk you through in the next slide. So when we're looking, it's like, okay, Tina, I know I need to care for my quote unquote basic needs, but why does this matter? And I just want to explain to you on a high level why we need to care for our basic needs, because our body needs it to operate, to take us to the abundant life that we're desiring, for us to grow our businesses, to move up the corporate ladder. So many of you have seen some version of this. This is normally called a wheel of life, but in the work that I do with my clients, I have two different wheels, one for your well-being, which is your personal life, and one for your wealth being, looking at your business or your career. So in pillar one, we are trying to stabilize the body and the brain. The reason we are doing this is because we are always trying to achieve stability within our body, which is called allostasis, by the process by which the body responds to stress. We often the body at any given moment is self-regulating itself by a process called homeostasis that helps you internally, making sure that your body, no matter what environment you're in, it's always trying to quote unquote balance itself out by regulating your body temperature, your breathing, making sure all of the organs are doing its thing, because we're always adjusting to the external environment, which includes the stressors in your life. So at any given moment, specifically around the beginning of the year in January, we normally create vision boards and all of these things. And anytime I meet with a new person, I always have them complete this wheel of well-being. So the way that you complete this, and you will have the opportunity to have access to these tools towards the end, is that you go through the different areas of your life: mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, and so forth. And you're scaling it from 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest level of satisfaction and 10 being the highest level of satisfaction. So once we do that, the next step is we identify the areas of our lives to stabilize ourselves. And then the next thing is we align the vision. By aligning your vision, you're able to save 10 to 20 hours a week, because now you have a super clear plan, you're less stressed, and you have the mental clarity on the next best step to take. So what I work on with clients is helping them design a life first business model. We get super clear, so it's 8 or 9 steps. And the first thing that we do is we get super clear on your vision. A lot of the time when I work with people, sometimes some of their visions are not even their own, meaning that they saw someone doing it and they try to do it themselves, or they're doing something because of a partner, they're doing something because of mom or dad told them to do it. And it's like, if it's not your vision, if you didn't get clear guidance that it is your vision, it's like an apple tree trying to bear oranges. Like, it's not going to work. So making sure that you get super clear on your vision, making sure that when you have the vision, that you try your best to visualize the goal and make it integrate your 5 senses, make it like a movie. See if you can like close your eyes and visualize it and be in the visualization. What this does is, there was some research came out of Harvard that shows that the brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. So when you're visualizing, it helps you accelerate the time it takes to attain your goals. When you're creating your goals themselves, it is highly recommended that you create SMART goals. It's making sure it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. There's a lot of work around just maintaining the habits that you have towards a goal, is that you want to make sure that it's broken down into small steps and have small rewards along the way, because that helps the dopamine in the brain. Also, a lot of people, when they're setting their goals, they tend to want to transform their entire life and tear up everything and start all over, especially in the new year. However, a lot of studies have shown that is not successful or sustainable, because your brain has too many different factors and too many new routines to really be successful there. So what I recommend is 90-day sprints, where you choose on the top 3 areas of life that you want to focus on. A lot of my clients within the first quarter of the year focus on physical, financial, and social. You're always trying to make sure that the body's stabilized, so you're being the healthiest version of yourself. You're looking at your finances, making sure. So what happens is, when we do not tend to our finances, our brain is like creating its own narratives, and it's things that, like, literally, if you don't do this project today, you're going to be homeless under the bridge somewhere. Like, that is how the brain just like does its things, because it's based out of scarcity. Another key part is work-life integration, and we're also trying to make sure that you are spending time with your loved ones, and we focus on social well-being. As you do this, you want to ensure that as you include new habits into your calendar, you don't neglect the maintenance of the current goals that you're working towards. It's really important to get a accountability partner. Some people have friends that they use. They can use their loved ones. As you all know, you will most likely go further in your physical well-being if you have a trainer or someone who is holding you accountable than you doing it solo. There's so many research around that. Another key component to this is having 3 daily non-negotiables. So for every area of life that you choose to focus on within that 90-day period, you have 1 non-negotiable that you do that day towards that goal, right? And the way that we are successful in completing these non-negotiables is that we are adding it on to an existing habit. So for example, if you want to do something first thing in the morning, like if you want to stretch, okay, you start stretching after you brush your teeth, right? So it's something that you do anyways, and if you tack it on to the beginning or the front or the back end of that existing habit, that can be very beneficial. And lastly, time blocking. A lot of people, when they try something new, they like give up after the 3rd day. Studies have shown that it takes a minimum of 14 days for you to get acclimated to a new change in your schedule. So if you mess up on the 3rd day or the 5th day or the 7th day, stay the course, honor the time block, and know that it's not you, and like you messed up and the whole world's coming to an end. Know that there is science behind why you should continue the course. And lastly, one thing I want to talk about this is that as you continue to do that 90-day sprint and you're focusing on your 3 areas, you may get ideas, downloads, concepts, suggestions, recommendations on other 7 areas of life. Keep those concepts in your phone, so that way you're freeing up the mental space in your head, because that's not your priority at this time. You're focused on those 3 things, and know that you have those things put away somewhere that you can refer to at a later time. So does anyone have any questions before we move forward? I want to make sure. You can drop it in the chat or unmute yourself. Okay, seems like we're good to go. I will continue and leave leave time at the end for us to have any questions. So most of us, when we are starting something new or trying to develop a new habit, we know what we need to do. However, there's something internally that's causing us not to move forward. So one of the areas that I specialize in working with clients is that I do a lot of mindset work. And what happens is a lot of people, they come to me and they're like, hey, I need to make more money. I need to tell me strategy on how to make more money. I want to grow my business. I want to get a promotion, do all of those things, right? So what happens is they keep focusing on strategy, which is taking different action. However, the reason that they're not successful in taking the action is because we are not hitting the root cause of why they're not taking the action. So this is the work of David Bayer, and he calls this the 5 primary drivers. This is a mindset philosophy, and this is called the psycho-cybernetic loop. What this basic concept of this is, from a very high level, is that your beliefs about life, relationships, about yourself, drive the thoughts in your head that then fuels the feelings that you feel, that then dictates your actions. Your actions then create a result which reinforces the belief about that thing. So if we're trying to achieve the results we're trying to achieve is work-life integration, but we're keep trying different strategies, we're getting frustrated because we think that we have so many things to do, then there is a belief system that there isn't enough time. Guess what? We will never have enough time, and everything we do, it would keep us stuck and reinforce the belief that we do not have enough time. Just because of time today, we have such a short period of time. I just wanted to provide a high-level tool of how we can shift this. Is that when we identify that, normally we have to identify the core belief that's limiting us, which is called a limiting belief. We identify the limiting belief, then we realize, like, say, if that is like, I don't have enough time, we switch that, because just like you've made a decision about not liking avocados and you decide that you're gonna stop eating avocados, you decided that you're not happy in this relationship, so you leave this relationship. You decided that you don't like this job and you left this job. Beliefs are ultimately decisions that we make at some point in time, and we can shift the beliefs just like we make new decisions. So what it is if you're saying, like, I believe like I don't have enough time, what you do is you say, I believe that I do have enough time, which is often the opposite of the limiting belief. And then you stack evidence for the new belief. And you do that by looking at evidence from your life. Well, you know what? Like, up to this point, like, I am in one piece, right? Like, I do have enough time because I'm able to make time for this workshop. I am dressed appropriately, like, I'm the best I have. So I've had enough time thus far in my life. And then you also look at, like, other people. Like, if the other people can do the thing within the time that they have, then there's a possibility for you to do the thing in the time that you have. It's all about choices, right? So the top limiting belief that most people have is, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart, funny, good looking, talented enough, I cannot be happy until XYZ looks like this, I do not have enough time, I cannot trust people, I shouldn't put my needs before others, I should be doing more for my partner, kids, family, whatever, I'm a fraud. That's often around imposter syndrome. I don't have the right skill set. I have to work really hard to get money. I cannot relax because it's a sign of laziness. So what I wanted to show you really quickly is that this is what I did with a client, and this is the finished product, but there were different steps that we took to get this result. But she came to me and she says, "Hey, Tina, I desire to have work-life balance, right? But her belief was I didn't have enough time to work and spend time with her children and her partner." Her thoughts was like the brain was reminding her of all the things she had not done, all the things she had to do, and she was putting a level of urgency to everything because that's what the brain does. She was getting frustrated, anxious, overwhelmed. Work and life was just mixing all together. It was like she's at the dinner table with her family having dinner, but she was on the phone texting, like not paying attention to her kids talking to her. She was constantly like the emails on the weekend. She'll go to the games, to her kids' game with the laptop in hand or with the phone, constantly working. So the results was she didn't have work-life balance. So what we simply made the switch and said, hey, just like you made decisions about everything else in your life, you do have enough time to work and spend time with your loved ones, right? So by making that simple switch, she kind of rewired her brain. So then the thought was like, hey, I do have time. She also, this person also believed in spirituality, and I was like, hey, if you do you believe in a creator that would give you a purpose to fulfill and not give you enough time to do it, right? So also that's a different thought process that can go into this work as well. So then the thought was the brain reminds you of prioritizing time with your loved ones, but also because the limiting belief has been there, she's able to say, hey, I understand that I need to prioritize with my time with my loved ones, even though that limiting belief is coming up. There was more feeling of excitement, fulfillment. The action she took was like she actually spent time like, okay, if I believe I have enough time, she felt comfortable enough to sit down and plan her week, plan her time for herself, plan her time for her family and the work time. She spent more quality time with her loved ones, and she felt like work felt more achievable. So that is an example of what it would look like in working like this. And sometimes in doing this work, I want to, for those that are not driving, I want to show you what the body goes through when you are stressed, and unconsciously, because we're caught up in our emotions, we do not know how stress impacts the body. So if you are not driving, I want to ask you to just get like comfy in your chair, and I want you to make a fist, like just simply in a relaxed state, just simply make a fist like this. What is happening to the body right now? Do you feel the tenseness in the body? Do you feel like restriction in the body? Some people, like for me, my stress response, my ear starts getting red, like there's a feeling happening throughout the body, right? So whatever that looks like for you is what happens when we get stressed. We get caught up in the emotion, but underneath, on a biological level, the body like feels like that. So it starts restricting. And once we start restricting, the body is in the fight or flight state, and then therefore it is saying, hey, to the other body systems, hey, we are in a fight or flight state, so we need to focus on that. We quote unquote have a perceived threat. This threat can be psychological threats, right? But the body has the same emotion. So therefore, like the lungs are not doing, I mean, the lungs is everything is functioning at bare capacity. And therefore, when we continuously have that happening, that is why we have a high rate of chronic diseases. So that is what's happening. However, just as we can get tense, just as that, even though there's this cute little baby on this image, we have the ability to also de-escalate when we are stressed. So for hundreds of years, we have been using breathing techniques to help us de-stress our body. And the way, I mean, if you go on YouTube or anywhere, there's a whole bunch of information about breathing techniques, but the simple one that we can use if we're in a corporate meeting or in any situation is by simply grounding our feet, sitting deep in our chair, and just taking 3 deep breaths, and it just simply regulates the nervous system. And so highly recommend just taking 3 deep breaths if you feel overwhelmed, and you will feel the difference within your system. And lastly, the last pillar of the success system is empower. So what happens is, as we go through our days, we all wake up hopefully feeling the most energized we will feel for the day. And it provides us to go through our day and make choices that either drains our energy or re-energizes us. So we go through our day, but we never bring like awareness to the things that drain us or re-energize us. So I like to have this, and I tell my clients to use this as like a menu. So when as you're reflecting on your day, you look at like things in your day and it's like, wow, that really drained me. And you put it in the things that draining you. Then you're like, you know what? I went and I tried something new and that really excited me. I spoke to this person and this really energized me. Right. So it's being aware of the things that drain you and things that re-energize you. And by looking at your calendar on a weekly basis, how many things that you have on there that are draining you and how many things you have on there that are really energizing you. And if you look at it and you're like, I'm seeing a lot of reds, a lot of things that are draining me, you have to make a conscious effort to choose to do things, have conversation, be around people, go to places that really fills your cup up. So this is what I recommend for the 4 pillars of creating psychological safety in your mind to ensure that you don't burn out, you grow your business. I know a lot of people are like, Tina, I need strategy. But the thing is, I believe that within you, you have all the strategies. But what often happens is we do not take the action because all of these mental and emotional conflicts are happening within ourselves that need to these are the things that we need to focus on. So as I promised, I would love to get your feedback on the information I shared with you today. So if you are watching from your computer, you can scan the QR code